Woo-wee! Look at that damage. This feels awesome. Howdy folks, good morning, afternoon, evening, tea time, whatever the time it is in your part of the world, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing Fury Warrior talents in Dragonflight. And honestly, I think Single Minded Fury got a whole lot of love. And we'll dive right into it, but it's feeling pretty dang good. Like with the other styles of videos that I've done so far, we're going to be going over just the tree as it is, what abilities we have, choices, and then afterwards we'll go into building our own talent tree and seeing how it kind of feels. And it feels pretty dang good. Like with the other warrior talent trees, you get your primary ability right up there, forced into your secondary ability, so you got Bloodthirst into Raging Blow. Nothing new there, it's all pretty standard right now. Next we have up is Improved Execute. There is currently a bug in the alpha where Fury Warriors actually don't have Execute, and it says to visit your class trainer to get it. I tried, you can't. So actually, Improved Execute is useless for the moment, but that will be changed. We have Enraged Regeneration and Improved Enrage. And Improved Enrage currently reads as increases your haste by 15% while you're enraged, and your movement speed by 10%. Nothing's changed with Enraged Regeneration, but with Improved Execute, we will have no longer cost rage, and it generates 20 rage. So, it's about the same. I thought it was like the Improved Execute like arms. I had no cooldown. That would have been really strong for Fury. But probably too strong. After you take into Improved Execute, your choice is Improved Bloodthirst to increase the damage up to a total of 30%. We have War Paint, reducing the damage you take by 10% when you're enraged. Sudden Death, nothing changed there. Invigorating Fury, Rage Regeneration lasts 25% longer and instantly heals you for 20%. Pretty good. Then we have Concussive Blows. That's also the same thing as we had in the arms tree. Reduces the CD on pummel and also gives you a 5% damage increase to the target for 10 seconds, but it has a 30-second internal CD. And we have Improved Raging Blow. Raging Blow now has 2 charges and has a 20% chance to instantly reset its own cooldown. I've loved how that's played currently with Fury in Shadowlands, and I enjoyed a lot, so happy to see it return. Into the next row, we have Focus in Chaos, which I have a lot of questions about. Your auto attacks have no penalty to hit from dual-wielding during Enraged. I tried to look at Enraged to see if while you're Enraged you had a higher increased chance to miss the target. I tried to look into dual-wielding to see if there was an increased chance of missing. I currently saw no data for that, so this talent feels a little weird. Please feel free to let me know in the comments what you know about that. I know back in the day for Warriors, we did have like a chance to miss, and we had hit rating, and then we had expertise for dodging and parrying, and all that kind of chaos. So there's focus in your chaos, but I don't really know too deeply about that dynamic. We have Rampage. That's your primary spender for doing Fury, so it'd be weird if you didn't take that. And then we have Improved Whirlwind. Whirlwind causes your next 2 single target attacks to strike up to 4 additional enemies for 45% damage. Whirlwind no longer causes rage, blah, blah, blah. The same thing we currently have for Whirlwind, it's just cooked into the talent tree itself. If you do go Single-Minded Fury, because this is what the left side of the tree is, you are required to take Focus in Chaos to talent into Single-Minded Fury. So for this next portion, because it splits off into 3, we'll go down 1, middle, and then the other. So Single-Minded Fury, 12% flat damage increase while dual-wielding one-handed weapons, and you have a 5% movement speed increase. You then can talent into Frenzied Flurry. You can put 2 points in that for a total of 20% auto attack damage. And your auto attack critical strikes have a 50% chance to enrage you. So with Single-Minded Fury, you're going to be enraged very often. It's not going to be a difficult dynamic. The interesting thing about that is, if you are to go Titan's Grip into it, you'd be kind of forced to take Single-Minded Fury even though you don't get the benefits. So it's pretty much locked in as just a Single-Minded Fury thing. Next up, we have Blood Craze. Bloodthirst increases your critical strike chance of your next Bloodthirst by 10%, stacking up to 5 times. Currently, when testing it out, it didn't seem to register correctly. It would more so act as you would expect. As soon as you land a critical strike, then it would reset the 5 stacks of it. It doesn't currently add up. It's just like, as long as you keep Bloodthirsting, you'll keep having a higher chance to crit with it. It's basically just a bolster to increase your odds of critting with that ability. Lower than that, you have Vicious Contempt. Bloodthirst deals 40% increased damage to enemies who are below 35% health, so it's a way to try to integrate using Bloodthirst more frequently in the execute range. On the next side of that, we have Fresh Meat. I've never been a huge fan of this talent. It's currently something we have. Bloodthirst always enrages you the first time you strike a target, and it has a 15% increased chance to trigger enraged. Not something I've ever been a fan of taking, so it kind of feels like a waste of a talent, in all honesty. I just probably won't end up taking it. So that's what we're going to be building our spec for. Lower than that, we have Cold Steel Hot Blood. You can have the option of taking that when you take Frenzy in the middle tree, so you can completely bypass fresh meat if you like, which we probably will. Bloodthirst critical strikes generate 1 additional rage and inflict Gushing Wound that leeches 583 health over 6 seconds. Cold Steel Hot Blood was something that we had in Battle for Azeroth. It was one of our Azerite powers, Azerite traits. So it was pretty cool to have. It's additional damage and some self-healing. Kind of neat. Doesn't feel like you were forced to take it by any means. All those abilities go funneling into Critical Thinking, which is a solid 4% damage increase. We're going to take some of these talents off to the side real quick, just so we can go to the next row. Critical Thinking. Then that splits off into 2. We have Condense. I cannot pronounce that. We have that ability. Fujieda? Feel free to make fun of me in the comments. I failed English for 8 years. Bloodthirst increases your haste by 1% for 12 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So you get 5% haste just by using Bloodthirst into your talents, or into your rotation. And then you have a really cool choice, and I love this choice a lot. You have Sidearm. Your auto attacks have a 15% chance to hurl a weapon at your target, and 3 other enemies in front of you. So it does a cleave, a frontal cleave, dealing an additional 1,223 physical damage. Pretty neat. I used it on the target dummy earlier, and it hurled a random axe into a critter. It works. And then we have another fun ability, which is called Annihilator. Your auto attacks with one-handed weapons deal an additional 1,352 physical damage. All your auto attacks. So that's really strong. I tested it out. It feels great. You just have a flurry of damage, and that's supposed to be the imagination of being a Fury Warrior. A lot of folks are really happy about this one returning. This is Odin's Fury. You probably remember that as your Legion artifact weapon ability. Well, from Legion for Fury Warriors. Odin's Fury 45-second CD unleashed your power, dealing 7,929 physical damage and an additional 3,233 physical damage over 4 seconds to all enemies within 12 yards. Doesn't seem to have a target cap. So unlike how Whirlwind says it's 5 targets or it hits 8 targets, things like that, Odin's Fury just can pump. It can. And to bolster Odin's Fury, as well as if you end up going with a bleed build for a warrior, which is definitely a possibility, bleed damage of Odin's Fury, Thunderous Roar, and Gushing Wound is increased by 15%. So with that, if you were to take Bloodborne, you would want to go into the core talent tree and take Thunderous Roar. Then you can bolster Thunderous Roar with Thunderous Aftershocks, and then you can also take Cold Steel Hot Blood. So you have a heavy bleed build going on as a Fury Warrior, which feels really cool, and I like it quite a lot. If we go down into the middle tree, so I'll remove these real quick, we have Swift Strikes, increase your haste by a total of 4%, and you have Valor in Victory, increasing your versatility by 4%. So you could, if you're single-minded Fury, end up going to take Siegebreaker on the other side, but you wouldn't have to take your versatility. At least you wouldn't have to go through this whole tree over here for Titan's Grip. Connecting down in between Swift Strikes and Valor in Victory, we have 2 choices. You have Anger Management. Anger Management works exactly how it did before. For every 20 rage that you spend, it reduces the remaining cooldown of Recklessness by 1 second. And you have Reckless Abandon. Probably familiar with Reckless Abandon? A lot of people use it in PvP right now. Recklessness generates 50 rage and greatly empowers your Bloodthirst and Raging Blow. It also makes your Raging Blow into Crushing Blow, which gives you a 10-yard charge. If you use that in PvE, you might have ended up accidentally dying a few times. Not me, no, never. Going off of that, we have Depths of Insanity, increases your Recklessness duration by 3 seconds, totaling out at 6. And you also have Hack and Slash. So Rampage has a 30% chance to refund a charge of Raging Blow. Pretty good. Works really well in tandem with improved Raging Blow, and works like how it currently does. The only complication I have with it is it starts off being 30. When you try to put another talent point into it, it still stays at 30. So I'm estimating it's either bugged with being it's 15% per point in, or it'd be a really wild scenario if it ended up being an actual total of 60%. We'll see. I could also see that as an option of just talenting one, and then you can go into one into Depths of Insanity. Going into the Titan's Grip side of the tree, we have Cruelty. While enraged, Raging Blow deals 20% more damage and has 30% chance to instantly reset its own cooldown. Bolsters with Raging Blow, bolsters with going into Hack and Slash. You're going to be casting Raging Blow a lot when you take this. We have Titan's Grip. Titan's Grip is unchanged. It's exactly how it reads currently. You're able to wield two-handed weapons that deal more damage, provide more strength and stamina than one-handed weapons. So at least details you to the player in case a new player comes in being like, what's the benefit? There you go. When you do take Titan's Grip, that is the only way you can get Wrath and Fury, which increases your Raging Blow damage by 20%. So with a Titan's Grip build, you would definitely just be spamming a whole bunch of Raging Blows. We also have Onslaught. I'm okay with Onslaught. I've never been a huge fan of it. It's a cool ability. It feels neat for dynamic as a warrior, but it's not something you're personally taking. Deal some damage, 16-second cooldown, generates 25 rage. After Onslaught, we have Pulverize. Onslaught generates 10 more rage and enrages you for 8 seconds. So you could work that into your build. You Onslaught the target, you deal more damage, you get more rage. Going into, after you get Cruelty, or even if you don't want to take Cruelty, if you take Improved Rampage, you can get Meat Cleaver. We are familiar with Meat Cleaver right now. When you put 2 points into it, Whirlwind deals 30% more damage and now affects your next 3 single target melee attacks instead of just the next 2 attacks. So if you want to go for a heavy AoE build, you can ultimately end up taking this with Single-Minded Fury, or you take with Titan's Grip, either way, or you can bypass it entirely if you don't plan on doing any AoE damage scenarios. Going down into this, you have Deft Experience to bolster your mastery by a total of 4%, and it splits off into Ravager and into Siegebreaker. Siegebreaker is 15% damage. Might be 30 right now on Shadowlands. Pretty sure it's 30, but we have 15 on a 30-second cooldown, generates 10 rage, and then you have Deafening Crash. Your Siegebreaker's damage by 30% and duration by 3 seconds. There you go. So you do have to put 2 talent points into it to make it currently work like how it does on Shadowlands, but you do also get 3-second duration increase. With Ravager, Ravager's unchanged. It still does everything that it does on Shadowlands right now. It does AoE damage. We don't have Bladestorm as an option here for Fury Warriors, unless you go into the core tree and you get Signet of Tormented Kings, then you can take Avatar, and then when you pop Recklessness, you have a chance to proc Bladestorm. You know how Signet of Tormented Kings currently works. But you can, technically, get Bladestorm. And then Storm of Steel increases the duration of Ravager by 2 seconds. So that's the total Fury tree. And it feels alright. They did the same thing where they teeter off to the sides. Everything connects in, so you can avoid some choices if you like. Connects back into the center to enforce getting those primary abilities you would get as a Fury Warrior or would like to get. Then you can choose between Single-Minded Fury talents or being a Titan's Grip Warrior, which I've had to play Titan's Grip for so many years. I kind of want to be Single-Minded Fury again. And the build that I ended up making was pretty fun. And it's just a whole bunch of furious attacks, which is what I like as being a Fury Warrior. You still can end up feeling like you're furiously attacking with Titan's Grip, and it does look cool to have 2 two-handed weapons. But having a bolstered option where you can really benefit from Single-Minded Fury is a hell of a lot better than what we currently have in Shadowlands. Shadowlands, you can go Single-Minded Fury. It doesn't have the damage output that Titan's Grip does, as well as the stats to make up for it. We just get movement speed and some damage increase, and that's it. You call it a day. So with this build, how they currently have it set up, I don't feel like I have any really hard difficulties with talenting into other things. I'll show you guys what my Single-Minded Fury build kind of looks like, and also what the core build looks like with it. And I went for kind of an AoE Cleave Mythic Plus build. And this is what I built out for being a level 68 warrior. We'd get 1 more talent point option that we can have, and personally I'd probably end up going with Hack and Slash so that we can keep using Raging Blow as much as possible. I went down the Single-Minded Fury tree because I thought that'd be a little more fun to experiment with than Titan's Grip. Ended up taking Frenzied Flurry. I took both sides that trail off from Critical Thinking because I'm going for a bleed build. So I actually am talented into Thunderous Roar. I'll show you guys the main tree that I have over here in just a second. But I also talented into like Rend and Cleave and Thunderclap, Blood and Thunder. We went for Improved Whirlwind. Might even consider going a point into Meat Cleaver instead of taking Anger Management. Currently with this build, we have a lot of AoE bleed damage, and it ends up feeling really fun. And here is the core talent tree that I have to work in tandem with my Fury talent tree. As I said, we did get Rend. We took Thunderclap to go into Blood and Thunder. The cool thing about having Blood and Thunder is as long as you have Rend up on a single target, you don't have to keep reapplying Rend, you just hit Thunderclap, and it also costs 5 less rage. So it ends up being less rage cost than Rend. One of the points that I ended up having, or like kind of a battle in my head about my choice of building out this, was you can go for Avatar instead, you can go for Signet Tormented Kings, and more importantly, reinforced plates, so your armor is increased by 60% of your strength, which works in tandem with Armored to the Teeth, that your strength is equal to 10% of your armor value. They end up benefiting each other. So you could go for what I saw end up being 200 extra strength with level 68 gear, not being fully decked out, can be a really good choice in taking this build instead of getting Spear of Bastion into Elysian Might. So you're sacrificing a 1 minute CD to get a 1.5 minute CD, but then the raw damage you end up getting can be really fun, and you can get Bladestorm procs. So that was something that definitely was like, gonna have to do some testing on that. Could be fun either way. I'm totally happy to have both of those as a choice. We do also get one additional talent point, so that might end up being that you can have a spear and then you get into Avatar, things like that. More importantly, we did have to go down the right side of the tree a little more heavily, so that way we could take dual wield specialization, went for Thunderous Roar because we do have Bloodborne, which increases our bleed damage of Thunderous Roar, and then went into Thunderous Aftershocks, which just more AoE and more bleeds and more fun, and it's really cool. Though Thunderous Aftershock doesn't actually do a bleed effect, it's just more AoE damage, and that was the whole point of this build. And here's a little bit of what this current build looks like in action, so to speak, because we are obviously just testing on target dummies. Getting a little bit of rage, you do have to spend some of your rage cost into just getting Rend up there and some Thunderclaps, and then you go in for the dam. Probably should have dropped Spear first before Thundering more, but you get the gist of it. All you really have to do to maintain keeping Rend up on targets is just Thunderclap, every roughly 20 seconds, give or take. And aside from that, you spend a lot of Whirlwinds and a lot of Rampages. It's a lot of fun. With a whole bunch of bleed damage, you get to see the awesome, just a whole bunch of low numbers on the screen compared to playing like ARMS. Single-minded Fury is looking pretty good. I'm pretty satisfied with this build, and with the talent trees that we have, having a little bit more choice, having some freedom into the core of the tree that you can talent into whatever the hell you like. I don't really have much complaints. It looks really solid. And I have a lot of hopes for this ending up being our final build that we'll see into Dragonflight. With all that being said, please keep in mind, I am not a CE player. I was years ago. I'm not a gladiator, nor have I ever been. So this is just my general input as being a pretty average folk playing this game and just been playing a warrior for 17 years. I guarantee you there's a lot of great content creators out there that have those experiences, and I would really highly recommend to you to go check out their videos as well, because they're going to have a lot more insightful things to say about certain dynamics, especially when it comes to doing PvP builds. I know at least the most exciting thing so far is that you can have Stormbolt, Shockwave, and Die by the Sword, all as a Fury Warrior in PvP combat. That can be real nutty. So I highly advise check out those things. Don't take a lot of the things that I say for necessarily granted. We're just checking out the warrior talents because I think they're cool and I want to share that with a lot of folks. If you liked this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in another one. If you really liked it, hit the actual like button and maybe toss a comment. Give some feedback of your own. Be part of conversations, and let's try to make sure we're giving as much input as possible on criticism and feedback to people developing this game, so that way we can make sure and ensure that Dragonflight ends up being a great expansion. I'll see you all in the next video.